Hello, and thank you guys for joining today. We have an exciting presentation going on today to explore the power of device management with the TeleDynamics and Phonism platform. And so today we're going to be specifically diving into learning how we can use Zoom and Webex ready, ring ready devices and delve into the UCaaS migrations across multiple platforms and the different strategies that we can use in this Phonism platform to help us manage these manufacturer devices and how we can swap between devices when it makes sense competitively. But first, let me introduce myself and a little bit about TeleDynamics. My name is Daniel Narotsky. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for TeleDynamics. This event is being recorded, so if you have any questions, you can refer back to the recordings. I think we should be broadcasting live as well on LinkedIn, so it should be going out to a couple of different channels. But a brief introduction on TeleDynamics. TeleDynamics was founded in May of 1981. TeleDynamics is a value-added B2B distributor of SIP and telecom products. They sell only to authorized VARs and ITSPs. And TeleDynamics delivers customized services like order processing and order fulfillment, provide customer service and technical information, and offer SIP endpoint and edge device provisioning services. And this last point is what we're going to focus on today as we explore the power of device management with TeleDynamics and Phonism. Wanted to give a couple of different backgrounds on why we're having this presentation today and some of the information that you can see as we talk about some of the trends. 74% of U.S. companies are either using or plan to implement a permanent hybrid work model. 74%, that's a pretty big number. 44% of U.S. employees prefer the hybrid work model, and 51% of employers prefer a hybrid work model. And then lastly, 63% of this hybrid growth, companies are using a productivity anywhere hybrid model. So we're moving to this trend of having your devices move in and out of spaces, in and out of platforms. And so the need to migrate these is continuing to evolve and becoming a higher demand in the workforce. Today's customers are also engaging with companies in more ways than ever. Organizations that can seamlessly and effortlessly integrate and accommodate the way that customers prefer to communicate are providing a better customer experience. So the unified communications omni-channel demands integration across multiple platforms and multiple hardwares to communicate across all these different channels like instant messaging, desktop sharing, voice and video calling, and then from a single unified and intuitive platform and device. And the last thing that we're seeing with hybrid work and the omni-channel growth, paired with the hardware shortages and some of the financial challenges, it's pushed consumers to have product alternatives and a need to easily and effectively transition from one device to another. So we're seeing this trend in SIP endpoints. For example, Yealink, Grandstream, Snome have all, for example, become very popular competitive swaps for customers that are moving away from some of the older poly devices. And so as we dive into the Phonism device management, we're going to discuss how to leverage this platform to assist with these migration use cases and hardware transitions. So I'm going to kick it over to Greg from Phonism. Let me swap presenters here. Greg, would you like to have your PowerPoint up, or you want me to control it from my end? It's kind of up to you there.
That would be great. So thank you for the time, and thanks for everybody for attending. You know, I think for us with TeleDynamics, it's a unique partnership. And, you know, I think there's a great opportunity, and I think there's a lot of disruption. I think you just highlighted the transient nature of our workers today, and what does that mean for devices and communications. And you'll probably have to help me with how do I share my screen on Go too, because I'm not good with it.
Oh, that's fine. I can share it easily as well if you'd prefer that.
If you can, if you got it, that's great. And I think when you look at some of the trends and, you know, maybe some other angles of the trends, you know, we're seeing UCaaS growth, you know, 17, 18% year over year. There's a tremendous amount of investment in that. Obviously, voice and video and messaging are all part of that. But if you kind of go to the next slide, is that when you kind of dig a little bit deeper and like really what it means and why, is that, you know, people are looking for things like enhanced security. They're trying to facilitate a hybrid work model, any device, anytime access to messaging, video, voice, etc. Bigger or broader geographic coverage. And within these cloud stacks is obviously some really interesting AI and machine learning to really help with productivity, right? And that's much different than maybe what you've had, especially on the voice side with hosted PBX and some of the legacy tech that's still out there. But we're seeing this major shift of kind of on-prem hosted into cloud by the end of the decade. 3/4 of the market's going to be there. Right now, the adoption rate's somewhere around 35–40% worldwide. And obviously for you all as partners, and you're selling the platforms, the devices, and the experiences, that we're finding that a lot of customers are in that transition phase, we're in that journey, and they're in various stages, right? And I think what we're doing from a partner perspective with TeleDynamics can really help kind of take those customers through that journey and give them some choice and flexibility. And you can click forward as well. And I think, you know, when we look at whether this is your end user or your services organization, is that during these deployments, it could take as much as 30 minutes per user to get them to where they need to be on these modern platforms. And you guys understand all the hand-to-hand combat that needs to happen in order to make it work. And I think, you know, for us is that I think this is really where intelligence and automation can really help accelerate. We've got many providers that are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, and like this equation just doesn't work. You know, they need to get there in a much simpler way, a lower cost way, in a scalable way, because, you know, that's really what the markets and the customers demand. But also for you is that you have to be judicious with your team and how they actually deploy. And if you can kind of go to the next slide, is that when we get into observations, is that, you know, with the shift in existing devices or new devices, depending on the resort you're trying to go to or the platform you're going to, they may not be support for your preferred device, right? Or for all the devices that TeleDynamics sources. And I feel that, you know, customers have preferred, or they have vendors they like and they want to use them, but they also want to use them on the platforms they would like. So the compatibility component is one that can be restrictive. Sometimes the cost and complexity of kind of doing that transformation is prohibitive, so they stay, right? Because the economics aren't quite there, or they haven't depreciated assets appropriately, or it's just wildly disruptive. Or the services and the other things that kind of surround it really just diminish the return on investment. But as you can see, is the market is going. The question is when. And I think what we want to do is enable our ecosystem to eliminate a lot of those headwinds that we're seeing as these observations, and, you know, put the power back in your hands. And I think that's really what we're looking to do with our partnership. So, you know, from a platform perspective and who we are as a company, if you go to the next slide, is that we're a platform that really focuses on the device component of the stack and the supply chain. And we're a platform that does automation and all the elements for that device's life cycle, whether it's how I deploy it, how do I manage it, how do I do bulk changes and firmware and settings and features and remote reset, reboot, how do I secure it to make sure it stays in that desired state? And lastly is how do I migrate it, whether it's platform to platform or device to device? But really our platform, as provided by TeleDynamics, gives the power to the partner ecosystem to really commonize all the device management tasks into one platform across multi-vendor, and also all the different things that you need to do in an automated way to increase productivity, increase time to market. So you click forward, is that from a go-to-market standpoint is we're providing that path to many of those cloud estates because of our native integration, but also what we do with compatibility, which we'll showcase. We can also do what we call ring-ready device experience, which means, you know, you can source devices from TeleDynamics that come with this ring-ready experience for Webex or for Zoom, that, you know, are plug and play and get rid of a lot of the manual intervention to get them to where they need to be. And we automate that, you know, from procurement to deploy to use. We can automate if you have existing devices or you have users on platforms that need to go from one place to another, or old device to new device. We can provide automation there. We give you choice and flexibility of voice platform and UCaaS. And we also do this under the moniker of security, meaning, you know, we can maintain that configuration, stays in that desired state, doesn't get changed, altered, deleted, without the administrator, you know, providing allowing that to happen, right, or administering that to happen, right. And if it does change, then we change it back, right. So we have a hold on that. So, and if you go to the next one, you know, from some of the benefits that we're seeing and we're going to showcase today is that, you know, we can increase the device types as much as 5x to your favorite platform, you know, because the things that we're doing around compatibility really open up the art of possibility of either device of choice or your own device. Accelerated migration as much as 100x faster through some of the automation that we've built. Reduce labor costs, how you provision and manage that device over time. And then really around locking the configuration of the device and protecting its security threats. And those are some things that we're seeing as outcomes with our partnership. And you can click to the next one. Is at a high level how it works, and right after that we'll get into the demo with Noel, is we have a platform, again, as you can see, it's powered by Phonism, hosted by TeleDynamics. And this is kind of the beauty of our partnership and your existing relationship with TeleDynamics is that we can provide, you know, we have some unique integrations with Zoom and Webex and others, but we're compatible with essentially any voice platform you may have. And we support 300 devices today across 14 manufacturers. And, you know, whether you have Yealink or Snow and other devices or multi-vendor is that you'll have that common experience for management and all the intelligent tasks. And we do all the things that are listed below. Is we handle the management traffic. We're not a proxy for the voice traffic or the video traffic. And the cases where we have that integration with like Webex and Zoom is we have communication that synchronizes the device parameters and config status and users with the account in Zoom, vice versa. So to make sure we have a common source of truth and we understand the user profile and hierarchy. But we can do all these remote command and control components such as reset and reboot. We can monitor the SIP traffic. So even if it's not SIP connected, I have an ability to understand health and maybe triage. We can compliance lock the device in that desired state. We can also do firmware updates and bulk changes and bulk migrations through our supervisor, which we'll show here. A lot of these platforms have minimum device requirements, and we can help you navigate that. And as long as it meets those minimum device requirements, we can provide a path. And I think that's really the exciting part about what we can offer is, yes, there's automation, but then there's we should be able to offer many more device options or your favorite devices on your favorite platform of choice. So, you know, this is a little bit of the topology. Again, voice traffic to platform of choice, management traffic with Phonism offering under or powered by Phonism under TeleDynamics instance. And again, is that multi-vendor experience on platform and device, providing a simplistic way to deliver and accelerate time to market. So with that, I think we'll push it over to Noel, and let's really get into the platform. So therefore, you can kind of see and understand a lot of the intelligent nature and the things that you can leverage as providers within the TeleDynamics ecosystem.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, so now let's look at the platform. I'm going to go ahead and just start at the general login. So when I log in to the master account for TeleDynamics Demo Lab, I have the ability to see a view of the hierarchy in the dashboard of what I'm currently at. So right now, being at the highest level, I'll be able to see my various different service providers, different voice platforms, communication service providers, network, etc. Now I'll also be able to look at the device brands in the mix that are within my entire account. And I'll also be able to see which devices are being monitored for day 2 service, which includes factory reset, restarts, in some cases, network traces, and additional diagnostics. Now, I also have the ability to change my configurable setting for how often the devices check in and display that to me. I currently have that set for 24 hours. Devices pending updates could be pending a config file, a provisioning update, firmware. I have the ability to set a software rule. I could specify a particular brand and model should be at a specific firmware version, and I can enable that. And once that occurs, when it provisions and checks in, it will apply that firmware. Now, unsecured tenants allows me to actually lock down my tenants. It gives me the ability to be able to add things such as IP whitelists, or be able to have a username and password first before I can provision. And it allows me additional features like specifying my protocols if I want to connect only at like MTLS. Now on this view as well, I have the ability to do some other things, but first I'm just going to give you an overview here. So when I do this drop down, it's going to show me all the various different service providers. TeleDynamics organizes their service providers by the actual CSP, voice systems, etc. Now you can also have your customers or resellers who are set up to do secondary provisioning and configuration to various different voice platforms. We also have connections to the integration, as we mentioned, with Zoom and with Webex as well. Also, we have BroadWorks in here. So let's go ahead and jump into this particular service provider. So this service provider is the CSP, and the way that I've configured this is I set it up by territory. So if you look at the United States and we look at the Southwest, the Northwest, etc. I've aligned my enterprises by the geographic region that they're grouped to. And then I've created my domains at the state level within that territory. And then my tenants are the actual branch offices that exist within those states. So I'm just going to jump over here real quick. So now, as you can see, my dashboard display has changed and it's reflecting the current hierarchy in which I'm at. Now I have the ability to provision the devices with templates and have the ability to lock them down the way that I see fit. So for example, I'm just going to click on this one because that's the one that's there right now. This one happens to be an Avaya device, but it is disabled at the moment. So at the tenant level, I could select all models or just a specific one, and I could assign specific things to the phone. So for example, if I wanted to add a specific domain or something like that, or a SIP server, I could put that in there. Now, if I wanted to do it at the high level of the hierarchy, I could create a specific template that is auto-applied, and I could say add template, for example. I could choose a name, I could just name it whatever I want. And then I could choose the brand that I wanted to go ahead and specify and the software version that I want. So in this case, I'm doing that for this particular manufacturer, brands, and models, as well as that code. And I could specify that. Now I could set that to an auto apply. And then anytime I added a phone via MAC address or CSV or API, and it happened to be a Yealink T4X, it would auto apply this template. So if I came in here, I now have the ability to specify controls. I can enforce a control. I could have no value. I could also exclude if I wanted to. And then I can set these parameters, which gives the ability to lock down the system so somebody else couldn't change it, because this template will be applied to any of the phones that are added. And then I could specify buttons and other things, but I'm just going to go ahead and say save on that. And then while we're here, I'm just going to talk about the software rules again so you can see a visual. I can go ahead and specify, that particular phone. Let me find it here. So the T42S that I just set up that template for the 4XX, I could then say enforce value. And then anytime a 42S comes in, I could say I want it to set a rule that it's going to auto apply that firmware to that level. Let me go to my actual tenant and branch location and look at the actual phones now. So earlier I did a bulk import. I was just doing some testing and setting up some Yealink devices. What you'll see is if you do this add individually, you'll add the MAC address. You can specify your user profile, etc., your model, and it will import the individual phone. If you want to import a CSV, we give you a sample you can download, you can edit and then import that. And that's what I did here. Now, I have redirect provisioning services set up. So anytime I add a new or a factory reset MAC address, it's going to go ahead and add it to the system, go to redirect provisioning services for Yealink in this case. It will do the add and the deregister of those MAC addresses into that portal. And in that portal, it will have a server management link to send the profile over to Phonism for provisioning. So that's what the RPS is. It came in this case, that one failed, but it did come in and check it. These are fake Macs, by the way, so they're not real. But that's normally what would happen. Now, if I knew the phone had TR69 capabilities, I could enable it by choosing actions, enable TR69. Again, the reason why I would do that would be for day 2 management, so that I could do reboots, factory resets. In some cases, I can do some additional management like those network traces and config file information. Now, if I like my phone, I can also do an import config. I could export from a previous phone configuration that includes the settings, features, etc. In the case of BroadWorks, we get a lot of questions about the DTAVs and other exports. You can connect them as a zip file and import them as a zip file or an individual config file. Then that will bring the phone in and you have the ability to create templates from that. In addition to that, as we've mentioned, we do have APIs. So we do have on our website information about the API documentation that you can do as well. And we also do low code integration if you want to integrate this into your existing platform, if you had a service portal for your customers. Now, we said that we were going to also talk to you about Zoom and Webex. So before we jump to that, was there anything that Greg or Daniel, you wanted to add to what I've talked about so far?
No, I would say is the API component's interesting because I think, Daniel, many of your partners and providers in your network may already have that management plane that they have their own IP, and all the intelligent actions that we're talking about are available through low-code API widgets. So therefore, you have an ability to embed a lot of things we're walking through here through the supervisor right into maybe if you have a native portal that either your team uses or your customers use, right? And I think that's a very interesting thing for many of our larger providers is that they tend to look to go in that way just because it's a very seamless way to give services out. And I would say is we also have the ability to do things like self-service, visual device managers, and keep the user community in a safe place. So if you wanted to extend some of those things out to your ultimate end users, that can reduce like things like support tickets and others. And either you can do it through a portal or through API, which I think just gives you an additional level of extensibility and value down to the end user.
Great, thank you, Greg. Okay, so now I'm logged into a different service provider. This service provider is connected with Zoom, and that does come in at the domain level of our hierarchy. As you can see, my dashboard is now being reflected of the current level that I'm at. So in this case, if I were to go to a specific location here, let's just click on the main site. I have the same exact structure, the dashboard's updating. My phones are going to be here, as well as if I add a phone or import a phone and a user, I can do that for Zoom, and it will go directly into Zoom's phone management. I can add the user and the phone at the same time on my import CSV. And the nice thing about what we do here in particular now with templates is we have templates which we call ring ready templates. Those templates have been tested, certified, and are valid for adding the user directly in and the phone or device, and it will automatically connect with the Zoom credentials. So in this case, now my Yay-Link list is here. When I go to my account, I have friendly tags that are specifying the actual mappings from Zoom, and it's actually placing the value of that into the configuration of the phone when it connects. Everything that we have set in here makes it quick and easy and allows you to have your phone be ring ready and available so that you can add the MAC addresses. You don't have to have those devices online. You can specify them. You can ship them to your location. When they get a PoE or power on and connection, they will be ready to make a Zoom phone call. The same thing goes for Webex. I'm going to jump over there. Now with Webex, it comes in at the enterprise level. And similarly, again, we have an updated dashboard. We have templates and our ring ready templates. Let's just click on this one here. So again, we have the model lists. And now when we look at the account and the friendly tag name, this one, instead of being Zoom in the Zoom service provider area, we're now getting Webex ones. So this is also a nice way to separate your service providers and your customers in the way that you're doing business. If you have one that has a specific voice or UCaaS platform you want to connect it to, you can create templates that auto apply to the entire structure, as well as you can create domain assignable templates to add to specific customers. You really have the ability to customize the way that your experience is. Now, in addition to this, I'm just going to show you a couple other things. We have a geo mapping view that allows you to, when you're doing troubleshooting or understanding of where your phones are located, you could say, where are my phones? Okay, I have, for example, if I had a bunch of service providers and different levels of domains and tenants, but I knew a geographic location, I could easily click on that location, pull up that phone, and have the ability to jump in and actually manage that phone from the geolocation, which is truly nice and handy to do so. So once you get into the phone itself, then you can go ahead and do your edits or your updates. However, if it isn't a template and it has been enforced compliance or enforced value, I cannot change it. So therefore it's now grayed out, which is also beneficial from a security and support perspective because you have less room for error or additional rework or troubleshooting when the parameters are preset for you. You do have the ability to add custom configurations. You can add additional configurations if you want. You can add includes and excludes. The nice thing about the way that we present our graphical view is we give you the same experience that you have with any phone you have. So if you're using a Yealink or you're using a Poly or some other manufacturer, we're going to display that in the language you're used to. So this case, this says account 1 versus extension 1 or line 1. It's going to be reflective of the manufacturer that you have. We also have the ability to review some logs, run some reports, provide you some information about your environment. And that's really all I have. So back to you, Greg or Daniel.
So that was, I mean, that was great overview. I think maybe some key takeaways would be is, you know, we support over 14 manufacturers, and like we work with certain partners today that say, I only sell a particular vendor because I can't master the skill set and the nomenclature across everything. But now is with this approach is that potentially you can support more lines. You could add Snowm and others to your line card and support them because from an ops perspective and a deployment perspective, it's all going to be in a common way. And I think that was one thing that we've noticed with working with partners is that I can't be an expert in everything, right? So I might pick a one or two that I really want to dig in on. You know, we give an ability to, you know, potentially support more and or support devices depending on if you're a service provider or not. A user or a company brings with them from wherever they are today, like in a new customer acquisition scenario. So some other triage and some other things over time is great. And I think depending on your organization is taking out a lot of the day 2 services might be a new way to extend some additional value. Is that, you know, you might be doing like the day 1 deployment, which, you know, TeleDynamics teams leverage our platform to do that today for like zero touch experience. But then there's an opportunity for a lot of the day 2 things. How do you do firmware? Do you want to compliance lock the device to maintain its status and desired state? Do you want to migrate it to the new device that you source from TeleDynamic and do a comparable migration or platform to platform? There's a lot of power, as you can see, there that you can use to extend your service capability and truly help the customers. And I think when you look at some of the market trends, we know that there's a lot of change right now, and change, you know, for partners can bring opportunity if we can execute. And I think there's some things that we're doing here that certainly can allow you to, you know, to do that in an enterprise way.
Yeah, and I'll just add, you know, just knowing some of the TeleDynamics channel that's viewing the presentation right now, just the high points. If you're a reseller on a platform, this gives you the ability, like Greg said and Noel said, to have multiple hardware vendors all under one hood. You're not jumping back and forth between some of their portals. And Noel said it's in that manufacturer's language where it says line or extension or account. So it's what you're used to seeing. So if you're a reseller on a platform, that's one great thing. I do see that we actually have a couple of carriers that have registered to view this presentation. And so if you're a carrier and maybe you don't have a couple of models from a manufacturer, or maybe there's a manufacturer line that Phonism supports that you don't have integrated into your platform as a carrier, this is a great way to work with us, work with Phonism to have some of those manufacturers and hardware models. Now it can be a bring your own device, but this platform does all the integration on how to manage the phone. We just have to get it to communicate now with your platform. And so I think that's another great way of using this platform. So let me go back to showing my screen here.
Yeah. And I think, you know, to your point about supportability is we commonly get requests, hey, can you support this new model? And the answer is yes. You know, and that's, you know, that's a common engagement that we have. And I would say is, you know, the follow-up is obviously leverage Daniel at TeleDynamics and his team. If you want to dig in, learn more, documentation, Matt Grupp, who's on our team here from Phonism, supports the partnership and can be of assistance. And, you know, we can get you technical documentation, additional demo, even like test accounts, things that you need to better evaluate and see how it fits into your workflow and your offering. But, you know, I think where we've helped or where we can help is that we've certainly seen deals that are blocked by supported devices. Like there's certain platforms of I'm going to a Zoom or a Webex, but I either have an investment in a manufacturer or a device type existing, or I want to buy new devices, but they're just not there yet. We can unlock that. And I think that's a great one, right? We're dealing with a lot of large public sector customers and hospitals and others that they standardize on a manufacturer. They have a bunch of things there. They're buying some new stuff, but they want to go to Zoom or Webex or something different. And there's a compatibility problem that potentially we could resolve. For those resellers and providers that are looking to do, you know, some type of share shift or market capture is competitive swaps. You know, you want to try to earn the business for a particular end user, the ability to support the devices they have, maybe migrate them to new devices or to new platforms or to your platform if you have a custom voice offering, or you resell some of the big cloud platforms, is that we provide a path to do that in a programmatic way. People looking to simplify the whole device deployment. We know there's tens of thousands of settings and complexities and a lot of manual tasks that, you know, hopefully today you got a little bit of a taste of how we can improve operations there. But, you know, we've certainly seen with certain partners, we've increased productivity as much as 5x, meaning your business could grow 5x, but not having to add the hands on keyboard at the same rate, which could obviously equals time to market's faster, it's simple, it's easier, it's programmatic in qualities there, but without the people overhead to do that. And if you have existing accounts, you're trying to capture wallet share or scale because of, you know, either it's region-based or device-based or some of those other headwinds that we can eliminate. Or we can offer some things around some enhanced offerings around day 2 services or even self-service capability. We actually did a study with one of our customers that, you know, we reduced their tickets by, I think it was over 300 tickets a month, because all of the device tickets that they were getting were, hey, can you add a button? Can you change this? Can you add that? And this is where they leverage our self-service capability and was like, you know, the users can actually do this without hurting themselves. We keep them in the confined place, it's defined, and it takes the burden off the support team, and the customer is happy because they can instant gratification, right? And, you know, I think what we're trying to do is just offer a new level of service delivery. And we understand devices are difficult. There's a lot to them. And, you know, we understand the nuances of those devices, and our goal is to automate and make it programmatic for you all to provide a high level of service to your end user across any platform, any device, and that's really our mantra. So, that is, I think there's a lot we can do, and we'd love to engage with you to get specific on your situation and how we can best complement your go-to-market efforts.
Yep, thanks, Greg. One last use case I thought of was there's an ability to whitelist an IP address so that the endpoints that are coming in from a specific public address will grab their configurations and actually allow you to control them. And we had one of our carriers using this because they were using their own capital to lease some of these month-to-month rentals as hardware. So it's kind of helped them as an asset allocation to whitelist these devices. So if they ever are removed from location, they won't work, they won't register, and they're kind of locked into that carrier. So a lot of great use cases. and again, like Greg said, reach out to me, reach out to Matt if you have any questions, you want some more information, more documentation. But definitely appreciate everybody jumping on today to learn a little bit more about the device management portal and how it could best be used for your needs. So with that, I think we'll end the presentation piece of it. If there are any questions, feel free to let us know. I'm not sure if there's anything in the chat at this point that I see, but we'll definitely review that for a couple of minutes if anybody does have any questions. So thank you all for your time, and definitely appreciate Phonism and Noel and Greg and Matt for jumping in.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you all. Take care.